still filming with my iPhone, but I've since got a nice little microphone that just makes things a little bit more clear. I don't have to speak as loud, hoping that the iPhone picks it up or update my voice, make it louder in the editor. So some pretty large updates here on the VHR swap S13. So I know last video that you'll see here was not nearly this complete. I've done a few things here and there. One of the items, if I can get this down here with a light, zoom in. One of the items down here is you can see there's hardly any clearance, but the slim U-joint, I got that. I rotated the rack. I used 2 passenger side brackets. One of my friends suggested that, and it worked pretty well. It was a little bit of a pain. The fitment was extremely tight. It kind of all goes in one way. I've done it a bunch of times. I'm probably a professional at taking it out if I ever need to change the starter, but everything fits pretty nicely with the ISR headers. These are the VQ35 headers. I just had to smack the firewall a little bit just to make it fit on the driver's side, but sometimes I think that's a little bit because of the exact placement of your engine mounts. I didn't want to reset the motor at all, so I just used the big hammer to make clearance. So I got all my grounds hooked up. I still don't have my brake booster in. I gotta install that, but the last video I was just kind of had the motor in, had things plugged up, didn't have the intake on. One thing that I was worried about was the VV sensor back here. I believe I ended the video just looking at it, and I actually realized, like, oh, I didn't realize the motor swung back and popped it. So I was a little scared that I had ended up actually breaking the sensor, but everything's good. All that works. Very tight clearance, but I hooked up heat as well. That was something that I was looking at doing. I had a long hose that is 3/4 inch on the VHR that goes, let's see, I'll show you here, to the firewall. There's a lot of stuff going on here, but it was tight, not easy, but I cobbled it together as best I could for now, since this car still does have heat, and here in North Carolina we have some winters that do get a little bit cold. Another item here that I set up is the fuel pressure regulator. I just realized that I probably could face the gauge the other direction, but it still would be a little bit hard to read due to the intakes, but you can still see it back there, so it works enough for me for now. Or maybe I could make a little 90 off of that or something. But it's just a DW regulator. It was about like $100, $120 from Injuku. And then all the hoses. This is a GK Tech fitting, Fragola push lock fittings with 30R9 rated fuel hose. And then I have the tool, and I bought these little clamps that you can crimp just for extra safety. It shouldn't, even just with the push lock, I think it's supposed to be rated for 300 PSI, so technically it shouldn't have any issue, but I just went a little bit extra on that. And then, so I adapted the lines from my hard lines, just the factory S chassis hard lines, with a 5/16 to -6 adapter. Then that goes to a Russell fuel filter, just a little short line in the regulator out to the fuel rail. And then I kind of that's the return that goes down to the return line. That's not really honestly needed in this case. But yeah, I got the headers both bolted up. I did finish my power steering setup as well. So I ended up using a 60-inch, essentially for if you want to mount this is like a Holden, I believe a Holden Monaro reservoir. It was cheap, $30 or so, $40 on eBay. But feed, high pressure, and return from the rack is you need exactly 5 feet. So give you just enough room to run it underneath the motor, zip tie it along the subframe, and then right up there. I was able to kind of adapt the existing hose for return that I already had. I just snipped it a little bit shorter and it worked perfectly from the KA setup that I had. So that was done nicely. I just need to get some power steering, some Dexmerk, and toss that in there. Another item that I did wire up is I tried to consolidate. Still a little bit of a wiring mess. You know, it'll get there with cleaning up some of the wiring, but I put it over here, just a fan controller, like a thermostatic fan controller. It's got a little probe in the radiator. This one that I used, there's a bunch of companies that sell them, but I just used a Davies Craig one from Summit. It was about 70 bucks. So it installed pretty well, and I've already tested it and all the fans cut on. So overall, it's pretty much ready to run. That being said, the only things that I have left to do here in the inside is mount the throttle pedal, and clean up a lot of junk that I have going on here. I have wires kind of running everywhere. I did sort out my head unit. This is an Atoto touchscreen. I have, you know, put my shift boot on and everything like that. I have a mess down here. This is kind of like a, let's see, I think I have a light over here. Yeah, it's a pretty big mess, but this is all of the wiring, the VQ motor, the ECU. I just need to do a little bit of figuring out where I'm going to put it. I might build like maybe some sort of panel here, maybe just delete the glove box, but build something that I can drill some holes in and just like maybe even bolt or zip tie this stuff all up organized where it's like off the floor, where it's not going to get thrown around and kicked and stuff like that. But for first start purposes, it's what'll work. I gotta still bleed the clutch, but I have all that hooked up. You know, transmission has fluid, the motor has fluid except for coolant. And yeah, fuel pump relay wired up to a relay with the AEM fuel pump, so she's almost ready to run. Thanks for keeping up with this swap. Hopefully some of this information has been helpful. Once I kind of get it going, drive a little bit, make sure I don't have any issues or leaks with any of the work that I've done since I've built this thing myself. I'll probably make a video that says just kind of like going over the overview of the build.